Hey folks, BlackCross here, and welcome to another video review, in which today's review is none other than No More Heroes 3 for the Switch. So with No More Heroes, I've only played through the first and the second one, respectively of course, and so now we have the third one into the entry, and the only reason why I mention that is because technically, there's something that should be mentioned before you even remotely play the third one, even though technically it probably won't matter. But I figure it's important anyway, because technically speaking, before No More Heroes 3, there was another No More Heroes game known as Travis Strikes Again. And needless to say, I hadn't played that one, so whatever happened between 2 and 3, I don't know yet. And the only reason why I mention that is because, well, we'll get to that part towards the end of the review. But let's go ahead and talk about the main game itself. And the main game is, of course, No More Heroes 3, where the main story premise is that a bunch of aliens come and invade Santa Destroy, basically destroyed practically every part of it, takes over of it, and, well, Travis is now part of the Galactical Assassins ranking. And so Travis has no choice but to, of course, kill all 10 of the ranked alien assassins. Nothing's changed, has it? Well, while the concept hasn't really changed, there is, however, a big difference in terms of what this game has, in terms of presentation, in terms of the layout, the way in which you tackle on these different ranks. There's a lot of difference that goes on into this game, so let's go ahead and break it down, shall we? So with the setup, of course, as you would expect, the combat itself is going to be on the Nintendo Switch, which means that for the first time ever, No More Heroes, with the exception of Travis Strikes Again, is being done with a controller in hand. Now, record, the game also is stated to where you can play it with motion controls, but for the most part, I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, I'm going to be playing it on the gamepad. Why would I not? And that's perfectly fine, because I did that and I enjoyed my experience with it. But I have to say, the gameplay is spot on perfect in this one. If I thought the gameplay in No More Heroes 1 was spot on perfect, despite the fact that, you know, it was ported from the Wii to the PS3 and then ultimately put onto the Switch, No More Heroes 3 definitely has defined the combat, and it takes in every aspect that it can to take advantage of it. So for starters, unlike in previous No More Heroes titles, you can actually jump in this game, which is definitely unusual, but that jump mechanic also allows for Travis to do various of new moves. There's also the fact that he can do what's known as a perfect dodge, which basically slows down time, allowing you to have several hits onto an enemy. Another thing that's new, though, is a thing called Death Blows, where you have 4 potential different effects. One that allows you to slow down time, another one where you can kick into an enemy, another one which basically does like a force push, and then my personal favorite where it rains down attack beams that does damage to the enemy. You still have, of course, the normal moveset where you have your strong attack, your heavy attack, and of course when the enemy eventually runs out of HP, you get to do one final slash move on them, and of course depending on the circumstances, you'll be able to enter in what's known as a slash reel, where a number of effects can take into place, whether give you extra money, heal, or restore your battery, or gives you special bonuses that will help you take on the enemy relatively quickly. There are, however, a new setup in which where you take on the actual bosses themselves. So what do I mean by new take on? Well, unlike in previous No More Hero titles like 1 and 2, where you get the money, pay it, take on the area itself, fight a bunch of enemies, and then ultimately get to the boss, or in the second one, you don't even have to have the money needed. You can go straight into the next area, fight a whole stream of enemies that leads to the boss, and then boss itself. In this game's case, however, though, you kind of cut the middleman, literally. Pay up, and then you're practically at the boss fight. Literally, not even kidding, you're right at the boss. We'll talk about the actual process in which where you get into the boss fight itself. But I do want to go ahead and set up exactly the process in which where you get ready to take on the boss, because there's actually a little bit of difference that goes on with this. So before you take on the boss, you can choose to either save your game via toilet, or a new thing that's been featured into the game, go into a sushi restaurant, where basically you can choose to either dine in, that gives you special bonuses such as increased HP, attack power, so on and so forth, or you can take out, which gives you a variety of bonuses that you can take in the middle of combat. which is very handy in my personal opinion. Definitely something new within the franchise, because in 1 and 2, you didn't really have that option. Your only way of healing would be to find a crate that was in the middle of the battlefield, destroy it, and then that's your heal up. Any other way, you had to survive on your own. But in this case, it decides to basically give you the ability to where you can store these sushi items and stuff like that, to where you can either heal yourself, give yourself special bonuses and stuff of that nature. And it works all really, really well, in my personal opinion. And then, of course, the bosses themselves are all unique, all different. In fact, I have to say, I really, really loved the concept of this title. I was really loving it. It's like whenever they first announced the ideal concept for No More Heroes 3, I was like, this actually sounds cool. These alien invasion comes in and everything like that. They claim to be superheroes and stuff, and they're just going to be kicking ass and everything like that. Meanwhile, Travis Touchdown comes in and gets ready to tackle on the aliens. Needless to say, while traditional as may sound, it's a funny concept. And you know what? The enemy designs themselves are all awesome in my personal opinion. But what's even weirder is that it kind of does the same thing that No More Heroes 2 does, where it kind of changes it up, where you thought you're going to be tackling on certain bosses. Sometimes it'll do something completely different and just kind of throws you off, like I kid you not. So I won't ruin it for you, but just know, the bosses that they introduce you at the beginning of the game are not going to be the set bosses you actually fight. So I mean, this game will surprise you. This game will throw some punches that you was not even expecting, and at the end of the day, you're going to be like, what just happened? But out of all the enemies, aside from like a couple of the handful ones of the aliens that I've fought and everything like that, Fu is by far the best boss and best enemy in the game. I'm not going to lie. I think out of some of the other game bosses that I've played through and stuff like that, this one is probably the most interesting and fun, because you know those enemies where you love to hate? This is the enemy that you love to kill, okay? He's cocky, he's arrogant, he wants to destroy everything, he doesn't give a shit, and really fighting him as a boss, I ain't gonna lie, I had some fun. It definitely surprised me. I was not expecting how the boss turned out. So again, I'm not gonna spoil it for you, but just to let you know, he's well worth in my personal opinion. Unlike, I forgot his name, but from Pizza Point or whatever, something like that. In the second one, wasn't really that interesting in my personal opinion. Whereas in the third one, this particular boss, the final boss, builds up perfectly in my personal opinion. And it works out well, actually. Now, of course, next to the bosses and everything like that, we do want to discuss the process in which how you're going to enter in the ranking battle themselves, because quite frankly, that one has also changed as well. While the ideal process of trying to get enough money to where you can pay the registration fee to the next ranking battle has not really changed, which technically came back from the first one, because the second one didn't have that, the process in which you had to do it is a little bit different. So for starters, you technically have to get these 3 gems, which is basically the 3 random areas that you have to take on. You go to any particular area that you go into Santa Destroy, and those little circle area, they will teleport you to an arena battle where you'll be fighting a swarm of enemies. Defeat the swarm of enemies, or said mini-boss, depending on the circumstances. Once you do that, you'll be retrieving that particular gem. There's a red gem and a blue gem. You retrieve 3 gems, you have entry to where you can access it, but you also have to pay the fee. Personally, I kind of like this. This definitely gives a little bit of variety and a little bit extra that you have to work on. And it's not just something of like, oh yeah, grind and everything like that, which you still do have those little missions that you can do, from mowing the yard, fixing the toilets, occasionally a different side mission here and there and stuff of that nature. But the cool thing about this game is that while the side missions aren't really the main focus, thankfully, there are a bunch of kill missions, a lot of attack missions, just a whole bunch of different missions in Genuine, which gives it a lot more variety, and in my personal opinion, a lot more better way of actually earning money to where you can build up and stuff like that. So it never felt like a grinding. It felt like, you know, you were kind of training and preparing yourself for the next big attack that you're going to tackle on and stuff like that. And for me personally, that's actually really cool. You know, where you're fighting these enemies, and some of these enemies actually have a different way that you have to tackle them on. Some of them, you know, with brute force and stuff like that, but some of them you have to actually be tactical, since, you know, with the Wii and the first one and second one, you didn't really have that much in terms of motion, with the exception of the motion controls, the way they work and stuff like that. So they had to program the game to where it would work around the motion controls. So whereas in the Nintendo Switch's case, you had a little bit more variety, you have a little bit more mobile ability, which allows you to do a various enough moves that makes the game more that impact compared to previous titles. And really, with these missions, they make it more fun, they make it more entertaining, and really, I appreciate that. But of course, there's also another mission in which where you tackle on a giant enemy monster, an alien monster, out in space. So imagine this concept: No More Heroes with gummy ship mission bosses. That's an interesting thing, but it literally is. You're basically in this mechanized suit, which basically allows you to be in space and tackle on these giant alien monsters. And it's actually really cool. I really love it. I don't know why, but they did such an amazing job with that particular portion, and I really do love it. It's new, but it's fun, and I really, really love it. Aside from the missions and everything like that, you do also have a variety of collectibles that you can collect. There's Jin's kittens that you can get. There are scorpions that you can collect that you can give to the sushi owner to where he can create new recipes and stuff like that, and they'll give you bonuses. You can also get a number of what's called Deathman trading cards, which you can also get bonuses as well. And towards the end of the game, I don't know when you can have access to this particular part, but if you complete a particular mission towards the end of the game, you'll have access to your motel, which gives you access to gacha machines. There are 3 different gacha machines where you can have access to collecting assassins from previous No More Hero games, the aliens themselves, followed by battle scenes that are featured within the game series itself. Now, normally, in the past No More Hero games, you could actually purchase clothing, you know, like t-shirts, jackets, pants, and all that stuff. But in this one, you don't really. Like, that's kind of the weird thing, but let me explain. So, there are technically these aliens, known as friendly aliens, that if you complete a particular task for them, and it could be any number of things, it could be either having a number of kills done, a particular moveset done, having a number of points, or like cash, or whatever the case may be, if you complete that particular achievement, they will give you a free t-shirt, and that free t-shirt can be of any different design that they have had, and everything like that. So it's kind of different in the sense of that technically you can change out the shirts, but it's not the same way that you're used to in No More Heroes 1 and 2, and that's a little bit different. And, well, I don't know. I don't really care much for the variety that they give. For the record, you can actually change out your overall look. For example, you can actually have it set up to where you don't have to wear the jacket. You can wear a casual look that you were wearing at the beginning of the game, and then you have 2 other alternate looks entirely. And if you beat the game, you can also wear the original 3 jackets that Travis wore in the previous 3 games, which I thought was very nice. But as far as that, there's not much in terms of, like, I suppose you could say, customability for Travis's overall look. In fact, personally for me, I loved it 1 and 2 just because of the virtual design that they have for Travis's overall outfit. They have different designs that you can purchase, different looks, mix and match and everything like that. But that one, I felt like it was kind of taken away from the third one. Now, record, this is just me nitpicking here. But I would have liked it to where I could have had the option to where, you know, if there was a case where there was like a challenge mode or something like that, had the option to where I could change different colored shoes, belts, pants, something like that, and all that stuff. And while, again, that is a nitpick compared to the overall scope of the game, it is something that I actually appreciate from the second one, I won't lie. Now, of course, you might be asking yourself, okay, well, aside from that, what about upgrades? What about changing swords and stuff like that? Well, the funny thing is, you don't actually change out your blade at all in this one. Unlike in the first and second one, you don't change out your blade in the third game. Instead, actually, you can equip chips to your Death Glove Gauntlet. By attaching these chips, you can make them from using scraps and stuff like that, make the chip, and then equip them to your glove, which basically gives you a variety of bonuses, whether it's increase in attack damage, decrease in damages, overall different bonuses, which allows you to perform different movesets and stuff like that, so on and so forth. A lot of them very handy in the middle of combat. But of course what you can do is go over to the arcade machine, which gives you a variety of bonuses, whether they be increase in health, attack, battery power, or gives you bonuses such as different death moves and stuff like that. So it definitely helps you out in the long run. I do actually have one small complaint, and one that actually does affect gameplay in my personal opinion. Again, it may not affect to everybody, but to some people they might notice, and it might be something that might be a huge critique to some people, and that is the fact that when you're in the open world. Now, we can all admit, the Nintendo Switch is not the most powerfulest machine out there. In fact, compared to most machines such as the PS4/PS5 and then the Xbox Series X and stuff like that, the Switch isn't that powerful. So I admit that, there is some compromising that needs to be done and stuff, but even as small as an open world that No More Heroes 3 actually has, for some reason, it was a little bit sluggish. Like, literally, I kid you not. It felt kind of sluggish in some areas. Not only that, but the graphic change overall. You gotta remember, in the first and second one, it was more cel-shaded, so it made it really nice and appealing. Whereas this one looked a little bit more on the, I wouldn't say realistic, but the graphic tone is definitely different compared to that of the first and second one, and everything of that nature. So when you think about it, the graphic detail is a little bit different, so rendering it might prove to be a little bit sluggish. But it doesn't affect it whenever you're in bosses or the small arena fights and stuff like that. It doesn't affect those areas. It only affects it measurably whenever you're out in the open world. When you're exploring, when you're trying to get to the next mission and stuff like that. When you're taking on another job quest, or when you're just looking for items and stuff like that, Things of that nature. Being out in the open world, it felt kind of sluggish. Now, I admit, for it being on the Nintendo Switch, it shouldn't be a major problem. Or rather, it shouldn't be a main focus, right? But when a game like No More Heroes is built for specifically the Nintendo Switch, you should be able to build it for that particular system. If you're going to build something for the Switch, at least make it to where it could run in the machine. I don't know, maybe it's because the Switch is pretty old and it has old hardware and it doesn't really run as well, or if it could be because they kind of had high expectations of how they wanted to build the game and they kind of bit more off than they can chew. Like, if you get what I'm saying and you play the game, you might have felt like as if, yeah, there are some areas that are a little bit sluggish. And again, it's not bad. I'm not saying that the graphics look terrible or anything like that. I'm just saying, performance could be better. Now, I do want to go ahead and quickly talk about this because this is actually a story portion. So, I'm not going to spoil the ending to you, because I feel like that's actually a major stuff that you might want to know on your own. But I do want to explain the beginning parts of it. So, there's a lot that actually happens between the second and the third game. And I definitely want to play Travis Strikes Again, because a lot of stuff actually happens. And what do I mean by a lot of stuff happens? Well, remember how Bad Girl died in the first game, technically, because she was practically the second rank assassin that you had to kill? She's back in this game. How? Why? I have no idea. What about Bishop? He technically died in the second one. Nope, he's alive in the third one. I'm sorry, where did I miss all this? I mean, I'm just like, there's a story that I'm missing, and I have no idea. I mean, at first glance, I can be like, I can brush this stuff off, because, I mean, even the second one did kind of a fourth wall breaking where they mentioned of how people probably haven't even played the first one, and they jumped into the second one joke thing, and it's like, yeah, it's a joke, I understand it. I'm not supposed to understand the story isn't supposed to make sense. This is Pseudo 51, if you played any of those games, you know the story is not to make sense at all. They will throw whatever random crap they want to throw at you. But when people come back to life, you feel like as if there's something missing. Like, I don't know, another game that you probably didn't even know existed. Oh wait, it does exist. You just didn't bother to play it. Like I did. So if you're planning on jumping to the third one, be prepared to be confused out of your mind, because I'm confused. So that is No More Heroes 3, and I have to say, I really loved this game. So, but the question is this better than No More Heroes 1 or 2? That's a good question. I would argue and say that it's probably better than both in terms of combat. Combat is really solid in this game. But in terms of the overall like collectability and stuff like that, that kind of goes into No More Heroes 2 and everything of that nature. But if I had to say, I think this would be like my second favorite in the series. I don't know. It's kind of hard to describe it because, again, love the characters, love the action, but I do love how the third one does things, you know, where, you know, you go through the missions and stuff like that. You don't have to grind out, and it doesn't feel like a grind, which is great, personally, in myself. I really love that part. But you can go through the missions, earn your money and everything like that, take on the boss right then and there, simple and done. So it's one of those things where it's like, the layout and the process in which you take on these bosses are a lot better in my personal opinion, and really, I think that really matters. That's why I'm going to give No More Heroes 3 a 4 out of 5, guys. So that's my overall review and opinion on No More Heroes 3. So thank you guys so much for watching this, and I shall see you in the next video. This is BlackCross signing off. Catch you guys later.